Breaking news! The Cleveland Browns just wrapped up their preseason finale with a narrow 19-17 win over the Los Angeles Rams, and while the scoreboard shows a simple victory, the real story is layered deep within the quarterback performances and a few surprising coaching decisions. Browns fans, this wasn't just another preseason game. This felt like a pivotal moment that could shape how we enter the regular season. Let's unpack why this game had everything: veteran resurgence, rookie evaluations, controversial decisions, and even a kicker twist that left everyone scratching their heads. Joe Flacco, the 40-year-old veteran who seemingly turned back the clock last season to rescue the Browns' playoff hopes, took the field with authority and left no doubt why Kevin Stefanski has named him the starting quarterback. In just a short outing, Flacco went 9 for 10 with 71 yards and a touchdown. It wasn't just clean football, it was calculated, accurate, and commanding. There's something about Joe Flacco in Cleveland that just clicks. The man who went 4-1 to close the regular season in 2023 came out like he never missed a beat. Throwing a touchdown to Harold Fannin Jr., the veteran connected well with his new targets, including Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman. For a team that has constantly dealt with uncertainty at the quarterback position, seeing Flacco operate with such efficiency was a breath of fresh air. But the real drama begins when you start peeling back the layers and looking at the competition behind Flacco. Dillon Gabriel was up next in the QB rotation and, on paper, he showed real improvement. He finished 12 of 19 with 129 yards and a touchdown. This is the same Gabriel who struggled with a pick six and a fumble in the previous game. Yet here, he settled in. He started out shaky again at 3 for 8. But something changed. He calmed down, got more aggressive with his throws, and most importantly, he protected the football. That was his Achilles heel before, and he corrected it. What stands out is the sense that Gabriel is improving quickly. He's learning on the fly, and it shows. Still, there's a legitimate debate brewing here. Gabriel's style of play feels very game manager-esque. He doesn't strike you as someone who can take over a game by himself. He needs the system to work in his favor, the players around him to execute cleanly, and the defense to keep the score manageable. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but in the NFL, the margin between game manager and backup is razor thin. What you get from Gabriel is a solid floor, but does he offer the ceiling that the Browns might need if Flacco were to go down? Then comes Shador Sanders. If you've been following the Browns report, you know how much hype has surrounded this kid. His Week 1 performance against the Panthers was electric: 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, crisp throws into tight windows, a high quarterback rating, and the confidence of someone who looked NFL ready. But against the Rams, it was a different story. He finished with just 3 completions on 6 attempts for 14 yards and was sacked 5 times. And while some of those sacks were on him for holding the ball too long or retreating too deep into the pocket, most of the blame falls squarely on the offensive line. Cleveland's backup offensive unit was exposed. Without Antonio and after losing Ethan Posick to a knee injury, the protection crumbled. Sanders was under siege from the snap. You could see him trying to make something out of nothing, spinning out of pressure, scrambling, extending plays. There was even a moment on 3rd down where he slipped out of 2 would-be sacks and delivered a strike to Trayvon Williams, only to see it bounce off his chest and fall incomplete. It was that kind of day. Sanders wasn't perfect. He held the ball too loosely, fumbled once, and never found rhythm. But he also didn't throw a pick, didn't panic in the face of pressure, and showed the kind of poise you want to see in a young quarterback under fire. And yet, with 2 minutes left in a 17-16 game and a chance to lead a game-winning drive, Sanders was pulled. The Browns sent out Tyler Huntley, a quarterback not even seriously in the mix, to lead the final drive. Huntley completed 1 pass, got them into field goal range, and the Browns kicked the game winner. But fans were left stunned. Why not give Sanders the shot? Why rob him of the chance to show what he could do under pressure? If the team is truly evaluating talent, wouldn't this have been the most telling moment of all? This decision has fueled speculation that the coaching staff is leaning more toward Gabriel as the true backup. It was a subtle but powerful move, taking the ball out of Sanders' hands in the most important moment of the game. It signaled something, even if no one said it aloud, and that's got Browns fans buzzing. Is the QB2 job already decided? Has Sanders already been pushed down the depth chart after just 1 tough outing? And as if the quarterback intrigue wasn't enough, there's also a new kicker controversy brewing in Cleveland. Dustin Hopkins missed another extra point, his 2nd of the preseason, and it's becoming a serious issue. There's no pressure, it's preseason, and he's missing routine kicks. When the game was on the line, the Browns pulled him and went to Andre SZMYT, a guy who hadn't kicked once in the game. SZMYT stepped up and nailed a 37-yard game winner with 0 hesitation. That might have been his only kick, but it sent a loud message. Cleveland isn't going to tolerate inconsistency in the kicking game. And that brings us to what might be the most hotly debated moment in Cleveland's preseason so far, the final 2 minutes against the Rams. Picture this. The Browns trail by 17-16. It's a classic NFL preseason setup. 2 minutes on the clock, perfect opportunity to test a young quarterback in a pressure situation. And instead of handing that moment to Shad or Sanders, the coaching staff pulled him and gave the keys to Tyler Huntley. One drive, one chance, and it didn't go to the players so many Browns fans were hoping to see get that real evaluation moment. Huntley completed a single pass, got the team into range, and SZMYT drilled the game winner. But the decision felt like a punch in the gut for those backing Sanders. Let's be honest, this move wasn't about winning the game. Preseason games aren't about final scores. They're about development, evaluation, and giving your potential future starters moments to grow. So, what message does it send when a rookie who's been one of the focal points of camp gets benched for a journeyman in the most important drive? It's hard not to read between the lines here. It suggests that Cleveland's coaching staff may have already formed their opinions on Sanders, and not in his favor. Despite his strong Week 1 showing, the leash was short, too short, and when things weren't perfect behind a banged-up offensive line, they pulled him instead of letting him battle through it. That's not how you build confidence or properly evaluate a quarterback prospect. But if the Browns were concerned about Sanders' ball security, and yes, he did fumble, it's still curious that Huntley was the choice. He hasn't been a serious part of the quarterback battle up to this point. It felt less like a strategic decision and more like a signal flare, a quiet declaration that the battle for QB2 might already be over. If that's the case, it's disappointing, because Sanders deserved a chance to respond, to show what he could do when it mattered. He's a competitor. That's part of what made his debut so exciting. And to see him on the sideline, watching someone else take the reins, had to sting, not just for him, but for anyone rooting for a true competition. And then there's the offensive line, which played a huge role in Sanders' struggles. Ethan Posick, the anchor at center, went down with a knee injury during the game. The severity is still unknown, but it immediately had an impact. The second unit collapsed, protection broke down, and Sanders was constantly under duress. And while veterans like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller are all pro-caliber talents, the depth behind them clearly needs work. Dwayne Jones, while massive and strong, lacks the quickness needed to consistently protect the blind side, and the Rams exploited that all night long. This isn't a new issue for Cleveland. Injuries have plagued the offensive line in recent years, and this game served as a stark reminder of just how thin that group becomes when even one starter goes down. If Posick misses time, the Browns will need to get creative or active on the waiver wire, because no matter who's under center, Flacco, Gabriel, or Sanders, they're going to need more protection than what we saw in this final preseason matchup. Now let's talk kickers again, because this one might quietly be just as critical as the quarterback debate. Dustin Hopkins missing another PAT is a major red flag. These aren't 50-yard bombs. These are routine kicks, with no real pressure, in preseason. And he's now missed more than once. What's most telling is what the Browns did about it. They didn't let him go back out there when it mattered. They brought in Andre SZMYT, a kicker who's never even had a preseason attempt before this night. And what did he do? He nailed it. A clean, confident 37-yard game winner, right down the middle. That moment might not seem like much, but it could shift everything in the kicking room. Cleveland has learned the hard way in the past that close games often come down to a single kick, and in a division like the AFC North,